Hello and welcome back to another review with me, Kevin, from Kevin Grant on Whisky. Sorry I wasn't here last week, but if you watched, you might have known I was away in Islay. As well, you can see there's no whisky here today. This is just going to be a full review on Islay. Kind of tips on what to do, how to get around, how to get to Islay, and things that we've done and what maybe format is the best to do if you're visiting Islay for the first time, maybe you're returning. It's maybe just give you some tips and some things that I found very, very good when I was there. So into Islay, I went Thursday to Sunday and we got the boat. So we got the boat to Kennaicraig. So from Glasgow, you're maybe just over 2 hours drive and it's bendy roads and everything. So if you fly into Glasgow airport and you come from there and you can rent a car, if not, you can go to the Buchanan bus station in Glasgow. You can get a bus there for around £20 and it will drop you off at Kennaicraig. So Kennaicraig is a ferry port. You get to the ferry port. To be a foot passenger, I think it's £14 return, or was it £14 per person? It's either £14 return or £14 one way. Still very good value. You're on the boat for just over 2 hours as well. It leaves Kennaicraig and it goes straight into Port Ascay. Then you arrive at Islay. I took a car, so there was 3 of us in the car, and it turned out to be about £117 for the return journey. So the car going over with 3 and coming back with 3 was £117 all in. I think that will differ on demand and season. So when it comes to Fishel, I suspect it might be slightly higher. So we're looking, say, let's call £120 for 3 people in a car to head to Islay for 4 days. You get to Islay, you get off the boat, it's very quick. The process is very quick of getting the car on and off. I would say by the time you got back to the car and on to land was maybe 10 to 15 minutes from getting off the boat. We stayed in Bowmore. So Bowmore is more or less the capital of Islay. Bowmore has everything that I enjoy from being in Islay previously. It's got Bowmore Distillery, which is on the doorstep. We stayed 0.2 miles away from there at walking distance, a few minutes walking just up the hill on Main Street. I think it was called the High Street, and an Airbnb. So I found that very useful, booking an Airbnb. I booked an Airbnb that could sleep for 6 people. We had 4 in there and it worked out over the 4 nights, round about £140 each to stay there. It was a great wee cottage, absolutely amazing, right in the centre. Bowmore, we had the shop there so we could go and buy some groceries if we needed some food, and we also had the Bowmore Hotel, the famous Lucci's bar, which has an array of whisky. So at night you go in, you get fantastic food, really good prices, some local beers from Finlagan Beer and Big Strand, was it called? Really, really good. So they've got local produce as well, which I find really, really good. They also import Guinness and things, so if you do like that, that's not an issue. So you've got that on the doorstep and you can walk to the distillery at Bowmore. One of the ways I found amazing about going to Islay, we headed to Port Ellen. Port Ellen's round about 10 miles away from Bowmore itself. So it's really kind of straight road the full way to there. There's nothing really in between bar the airport. You'll see that at one point, but it's a lot of land, and the peat bogs as well, the famous peat bogs which make Islay whisky unique to itself and to everyone else. So on Friday we drove to Bruichladdich, which is right across from Bowmore. If you're in the Bowmore distillery, you look across Lochendal, you will see Bruichladdich distillery. Went there for a tour. I would suggest booking tours in advance if you know you're coming to Islay, is to pre-book these tours. But this is a wee story of how my trip went and how I would do it. And it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but this is the way we thought we would do it. One of us decided we'll drive on the Friday, not me, I was able to have a dram. And we went to Bruichladdich. Bruichladdich was a £10 tour. It was a fantastic, unbelievable tour. Our tour guide, Katrina was Katrina Catriona, her name. She was amazing. The knowledge, the enthusiasm, everything was there. What you wanted to go to a distillery. If it's your first ever time, if it's your 100th time, it's not her first ever tour, but the enthusiasm was there. So it makes you love that distillery and all the stories around it. They got 3 drams at the end for £10, 3 cracking drams as well, from a non-peated, a Port Charlotte and an Octomore. We drove back, dropped the car at Port Ellen, and we walked. So there's this walk from Port Ellen all the way to Ardbeg. It's a mile in between, so a mile from Port Ellen when you start, you walk 1 mile on this new path that's been built. The views are absolutely stunning. And you stop at your first stop is Lefroy Distillery. You can go in there, they give complimentary teas and coffees. So get tea and coffee, or you can buy yourself a flight of drams. We never done the tour there. On the day, we're kind of pushed for time, so we just got a couple of drams in there. Then we continued on. We walked to Lagavulin. We really wanted to do the warehouse tasting at Lagavulin with Pinky, as it's one of the most famous tours you can do on Islay, but we weren't able to do that. There wasn't many staff on that day as well, unfortunately, so we couldn't really do a standard tour, but we were able to sit back, enjoy a couple of drams, and just get out the rain for a little bit. It poured the rain at that point, so we got to sit there. You then walk another mile up the hill slightly, again taking in all the views, and you end up at Ardbeg. Ardbeg, again, another famous, unbelievably famous distillery, quirky, great, got so much going on. We were really pushed for time because we were getting the bus. So Islay has a bus as well. It takes forever to go everywhere because it's an island and it has to kind of cover every single spot that you go on. But we got it back to just Port Ellen because that's where the car was. So we went into Ardbeg, got a dram in there, picked up a hoodie as well, and then we returned, got the bus just in time back to Port Ellen, went out for something tea at Lucci's bar and a couple of drinks, and back to the Airbnb that we were staying in. Wake up the next day, and this was another good way of how the distilleries are plotted around. So that was 3 distilleries on one day that you could do no problem at all. If you wanted to take the car and you think, oh, I'm not going to enjoy my drams because I've got the car, look at the bus timetable. It's very easy to navigate. Bus stops everywhere as well, and you can do that little walk. On the Saturday, we decided to go and do Ardnahoe. Then we went to Killila and Bunnahabhain, and they're very close by together. Unfortunately, not really walking distance. It's kind of really wild track road that you're on as well, kind of single track, so passing people is difficult and things. But Ardnahoe was amazing. Brand new, the newest distillery on Islay. It was stunning. The views, I think, for me, maybe have the best views on Islay just now. Potentially Bunnahabhain, but we'll get to that. We went for a tour in there. I think that was £10 or £15. Nice quick tour. No whisky yet that they were able to give us, unfortunately, but it was a cool little tour about the process and everything they've done. And we got to sit back. They do food as well there, and that's something I forgot to say. Ardbeg do food. Lagavulin and Lefroy don't, so make sure you eat before you go for that walk, learning from experience here. Ardnahoe to Killila, then you go to Killila, and the size difference is just off the scale. Ardnahoe is a small little new distillery, 2 stills, and then you go to Lagavulin, I think it was 6 stills. Lots of history. It was really, really good. Futuristic. Diageo put lots of money in. 3 drams in there and a wee charcuterie board. And then Bunnahabhain, you drive to Bunnahabhain, so you have to come back on yourself to get to Bunnahabhain. And Bunnahabhain warehouse tasting was just off the charts, awesome. That was probably, I says that there's no digging at any other distillery on that island, but Bunnahabhain was sensational for that warehouse tasting with David. He was just fantastic. Again, passion and everything that you go to all these distilleries people have is phenomenal, and it really, really pays off. That I think that's why we love their whiskey. Same again, we came back, we go out for something to eat down at Bowmore, into the hotel at Lucci's bar and get some drinks and things, back to the digs, and then on the final day, on the Sunday, we hit Cohoman. On the way back, went down to Macher Bay, took a wee packed lunch with us. It was amazing. I was a little bit worse for wear. On the Sunday, unfortunately, I wasn't too well, so I didn't get to take the full experience in, unfortunately. But the views and everything there. Cohoman's a great distillery, loads of people coming in for coffees and things. At the time when we went, Cohoman were only open 6 days a week. Saturday being the day that they are not open, so they're open Monday to Friday and Sunday. I'll just say Sunday to Friday. They're closed on a Saturday, so it's very busy on a Sunday because I think most distilleries are closed on a Sunday, and they stay open. You're then not a far drive to get back to Kennacraig, to get to Port Askey, and then you get the boat back to mainland Scotland, and then you drive all the way home back to Glasgow or so forth. So a trip from Glasgow, if you want to do it cheap, get the bus to Kennacraig and you get the boat, you're maybe looking at £30, £35. If you're staying close to Campbelltown, you could do a day trip and maybe just head up and get the boat across first one in the morning and get the last one back at night and hit a couple of distilleries when you get off, and you can get the bus straight to Ardbeg and start working your way back for talking's sake if you wanted to just do a day trip. So day trips are feasible, they are doable. It just depends on how much you want to see and how much you want to take in. But staying on the island, taking everything in, speaking to all the locals, it's just a stunning little island. We got really lucky with the weather. I've been before in late April, but being there just in March was great. I don't think I'll ever get bored of going there. The tours are, even though they're the same, they're different. Different people take them, different passions. The history stays the same, but the passion stays, and the love for these whiskies and distilleries is just array. I loved it. I'm trying to maybe cut back just now on my whiskey intake. Is, let's say, I've maybe overdone it over there, because it's just, you're in that place and you're buying these amazing whiskies that you'll maybe never try, distillery exclusives to try, and other things straight from the cask. It's just overwhelming. So I'm giving my liver a wee break for the time being, but I'm going to do a review next week. I did buy one bottle, maybe something that you might not have thought I would buy, but I bought something. It is peated and it is from Islay, but it's something maybe slightly different that I don't think anyone would guess just now. Islay, I love it. I'll be back for sure, hopefully sooner than the 3-year hiatus that I gave it, maybe 4 years, sorry, hiatus that I've given it. Maybe try and get back every year if I can, and see what other tours I can get and hit them all. Hit every distillery now in 4 days. I got to every single distillery on Islay. You could probably do every distillery in 3 days if you wanted, no problem at all. It can be done. But if you want to go, do it. If you've been 100 times, go again. I think everyone will have the same feeling. It's great meeting so many different types of people, and first time people enjoying whiskey, or they've never enjoyed whiskey and they're learning about it. It's just a great place. I love it, and I do miss it, and I've only been back for 4 days, as we say. But I'm going to go and sit back and maybe grab some water, kind of whiskey before it is, one of the main ingredients. I'm going to have a wee water, and I'm going to get back next week with this review and this whiskey that I bought. So it's going to be an uncorking, something new. So sorry there's been no whiskey today, but all this chat, and hopefully there's been enough information there that if you do plan a trip, you can go around the same kind of style as me. And I would, for me personally, is just look at staying in Bowmore, because it has everything there. There's a co-op, which is a supermarket, which you can go out in the morning and pick up breakfast food. You can pick up lunch ideas and take little backpacks and have wee lunches with you on the way. Or you can stay in Port Ellen, which is also another wee town, or you can stay out in the sticks a little bit and get real kind of old school, what it was like to live in Islay back in the day, probably. But I'm going to go and sit back. I'm going to go and relax more than anything just now, and try and catch up in some sleep. But thanks for tuning in again. I've seen some new followers, so again, welcome to the channel. I've not done that. I was just excited to talk about Islay. But thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks everyone for commenting. Thanks for everyone following. What I'm going to do just now is, if you do hang around, I'll put some pictures and wee videos up of my trip that you can see from here. I'll try and make it a few minutes long and see if you enjoyed it. So leave some comments if you think you would go to Islay. Leave some comments as well to let me know if this has helped you decide on going to Islay, if the trip would help you. I'm sorry I don't know how it would work from Edinburgh to Islay, but I can do it from Glasgow to Islay, no problem. As always, I've been Kevin from Kevin Grant on Whiskey. Join me next week. Let's talk whiskey.